Hey, welcome to another episode of Off Dribble, presented and empowered by the Warner Robins All Stars. We got a special show for you today. We got a couple Baldwin County Bravettes, as I was told. So we're gonna bring them out in just a minute. But before we get to that, I want to introduce the team. We got Coach Tat Brooks, Coach Charles G, and I'm Coach KP. Like I said, let's go ahead and bring out our special guest. We got a tag team coaching dynamic. Um, Very confident. We were talking to him earlier. Very confident. So let's bring him up. Coaches, how y'all doing?
Doing good. How about you?
We can't complain. We can't complain. So, ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce Coach Tasha Butts. Excuse me, Coach, and Coach Nichole Bolston Williams.
Hi, everybody.
Hello.
How are y'all?
Great.
Thanks. We're good.
Good, good. Everybody's family doing good during these crazy times.
Yep. Bored out of my mind, but I'm good.
There you go.
We trying not to hurt each other around here.
Hey, we'll definitely thank y'all for coming on the show. Kind of what I was explaining to y'all before we came on the air is kind of what this platform was built for, right? So it's built to uplift basketball in the Middle Georgia area, as well as educate players, coaches, and parents on what the process is if they're really serious about taking this game of basketball to the next level. So we're extremely excited to have you all on the show. We know it's going to be a lot of information you'll be able to share with all those parties to be successful in the game of basketball. So Coach Butt, I'm gonna kind of start with you and kind of read off some of your accolades. So we got you playing at Baldwin County High School from '96 to 2000. Two-time region champ, 2000 state runner-up. From there, you went to play at Tennessee under the Hall of Fame coach Pat Summitt from 2000 to 2004. Drafted in the 2004 WNBA draft by the Minnesota Lynx. And you also played with Charlotte, and then had a some time with the Atlanta Dream. And then from there, well, you had some overseas time as well. We can't forget that. Mama ain't gonna let us forget that. So we played overseas. And then started your coaching career. Started coaching at Duquesne University. Then went from there to UCLA. Then from there to LSU, and you're currently assistant coach at Georgia Tech. Did I get all that right?
You got it.
Right. And I know Mama got some other stuff that we'll throw out there. You got some Player of the Years and all that good stuff. So I'll tell Mama I'm looking out for her.
You'll be okay.
All right. And then Coach Williams, kind of some of your accolades. You played at Baldwin County from '98 to 2001. You was part of those two-time region championships and those state runner-up that run. You're currently the head coach at Central High School.
Mm-hmm.
Been coaching high school 6 years altogether. Been a head coach for 2.
Mm-hmm.
Played at Perimeter College, then went over to Fort Valley and played. And at Fort Valley, you made it to the Division II national tournament.
Yes, sir.
All right, did I miss anything?
No, sir. That's
Oh, hold on. I guess one more point I do need to bring up. So, ladies and gentlemen, they had a record of 100+ wins and less than 5 losses playing together. Again, thank y'all for being on the show. Thank y'all for being on the show. Coach Butts, I'm kind of throw it to you and kind of let us, kind of walk us through your process and your path getting to where you're at today. From playing at the high school level, going through college, WNBA overseas, and then what made you want to get into coaching?
Well, my process started way before high school or middle school. I'm a product of a janitor that he had the keys to the gym. And, my dad would open the gym up, and in order for me to play, we had to help him clean up the gym first. And so that's what my brother and I did daily. When I was in elementary school, I would walk from Davis Elementary to Body Middle School and practice with the middle school kids. So I was just a gym rat. That's just something that I love to do. Always stay in the gym, always wanting to play against guys, just challenge myself. would even pull, Nichole along, with us. It's what we called the body projects. And it was an outdoor gym. And every day after outdoor court, and every day after school, we would walk from our middle school to that outdoor court and play against all the guys. And we were there from sun up to sundown. So that's where my process started. And, eventually, that grew to myself getting recognized by Guy Coleman of, at that time, it was the Georgia Dream Team. And I was in the 8th grade when I started traveling from Milledgeville to Riverdale, Georgia, to play AAU basketball. And that's where 8th grade, that was my first offer. And then it just rolled from there. But it all started by being a gym rat. It was a lot of things that I had to give up to kind of get where I was. I missed some parties and, the homecoming dances, like all those things. But basketball is kind of what I wanted to do. And it started, in a gym after I had to mop the floor to work out. So.
All right. Awesome, Coach. Coach Williams, can you kind of walk us through your path?
Exactly what she said. Where she was, I was right there behind her. Whether I want to be or not. And like she said, I just get overwhelmed thinking about it. Her father was a janitor, but also her cousin, which was my neighbor, who had, like she said, had the keys to the gym. So we had unlimited access. And like my backyard, by the projects, my house. So that's where everybody came to. And basically, like she said, once we left the gym, we was on the court, sun up to sundown. So, like she said, she was demanding. She was, come on, you finna go. So whether I wanted to or not, she was my cousin, big sister. And she said go. She was just a leader in her own right, even at a young age. So, you know what I'm saying? She was very good at it. So, she was almost like a bully, y'all, kind of. Bully made it.
And you had to be a bully if you were gonna be it was our middle school team, about 8 of our middle school girls walking on to Body Projects court, calling down against some guys.
Right.
You had to own it. You had to say that we can step in and beat y'all. So we challenged plenty of them. We lost some and we won some, but that court made us all better.
Right. So, I don't know. I thought it was very important to ask for her to be on here today because I kind of want to show how both of us came from very humble beginnings and we took 2 different paths, but both of us are doing what we love in our own right. And we started together. So that's what I kind of want the story to kind of go to as you are questioning us, kind of hearing her path and my path, but kind of what I did and what I gained just being around such a great individual as her. So, and I want to make sure that she heard this. So that's what
you're so sweet.
And it started middle school, and we stayed together all the way. We rolled the wheels until they fell out. Period.
So, Coach, you mentioned Coach Butts, you mentioned playing AAU ball early. Coach Williams, were you on that AAU team as well?
You know what? I was not on her AAU team. However, God called me with me being around her so much. He did invite me to be on their B team. You know, they had the B team and the C team.
Right.
But just by being around her enabled me to get the opportunity. I did not play because we had a local basketball team, AAU team at Milledgeville. So I stayed home and played. But they did go off her and another one of our teammates went out to play with the Georgia Dream Team, right?
Yeah, Georgia Dream Team, and I think Quita played for the Celtics.
Celtics, okay. But
that was a hard decision. Like growing up, like playing with the same bunch of girls, that it was always us, even in the recreation department. And then in the 8th grade, making that decision to leave, my friends and local, AAU to pursue something that I thought was going to help me like get further. Because as long as they've always known me, I had always said, like, I want to play in college. I want to go overseas. At that time, it was overseas. So I had always had those dreams. And so for me to leave them and go and play in Atlanta, like that was huge. Like I had to second guess that a lot.
So So I'm gonna jump into kind of the high school, right? And just looking at what this record was, right? So what was the mentality going into games um, when it was time to play? What just kind of walk us through it in a sense of um, the confidence that you had to have stepping on the court, knowing we're coming out here and to give you business, and kind of what gave you that confidence. And I'm asking both of y'all that question.
Can I start? Can I start? Practice every day. But we went at it. I was always on the opposite team with Tasha, and our mission was to beat them every day. And it went straight. It went into the game. However, I listened to Coach Rico Dawson the other day, talked about how under his leadership, how sort of the the style of the way they were pushed was sort of would be considered abuse today.
So y'all was out there bumping?
Oh, we got abused. we of course it built the mental toughness and the mentality that we had when we went out there. But it was expected of us. It was expected of us. Our coach came in every day, and we never knew what to expect. We never knew what to expect. We never knew how to pin him up a swing. We just knew that he demanded perfection of us. And like I said, every day was a battle. And I was just blessed to be able to play against those type of girls. And it's so funny as a high schooler, not knowing the seriousness of the moment. Because when we're in high school, when we're young, we feel like we have all the time in the world. But when I tell y'all, we've had, because of Tasha, because of Marquita, we've had Andy Lambert sending our practice. We had with Mickey DeMarco, it was Mickey that came to our practice one time with me. We had, did you know R.E.M.? Did he come to our practice one time? Yeah. I mean, and seriously, like not even knowing the significance or not even just being serious or just not even knowing, the dynamic of how serious everything really is and what these girls have an opportunity to step into. But I would like to say that our practices and what our coaches demanded of us had a lot to do with the way we went into the game. I have even like now, 20-something years later, I ran into people that remember me that of course I don't remember and said, used to play for ball. And this one girl said, when y'all used to walk in the gym, we used to get scared. And I was like, dang, but they were just expecting of us. It was in us.
I definitely agree, but I'll say this, I'll take you back for a second to middle school at Body. We didn't lose a game ever in middle school. And we had the same core of girls. And then Nichole and them had the same, it was a 7th grade team, 8th grade team. And we all, we ran the table. That's what we did. And so when we got to Baldwin, we had a couple classes in front of us, that their core for everything. And so once we reached our junior year, it was our team. It was my team, Isis Evans, Shanika Ward, those seniors, that was our team. And our mentality walking into every game was, we're sitting here about to play everybody that we ran the table with in middle school. There ain't no way y'all about to beat us. And they didn't. But it started, like Nichole said, in practice, because that was the mentality. We went at each other so hard. I mean, you wouldn't believe the trash talking that went on. Some of the stuff that was said, almost fist fighting. That's how competitive we were because no one wanted to lose. We wanted to win by any means necessary. So when you got to the game, it's a true statement. You've been pushed so hard every day in practice. When you got to the game, all right, you've been studying. Let's just take this test right quick. We're prepared. And so that's how we stepped on the court with no fear. And it was almost an insult. If that score was close, it was an insult. And that's kind of what it was. If that score was within 5 or 10, I would come off the floor and then I would have Nichole in my ear, what you doing? Come on, what are you doing? And I put it on my shoulders, all right, this is unacceptable. But I think we had a great group of leaders and we had a great group of followers. And I think that's what it spoke in that record.
So y'all had the true essence of a team.
Yes.
Everybody was supporting everybody and pushing everybody to get to that, to get to y'all goal.
that hung together on the court and off the court in body projects.
Coach, I think that's a lost art in today's girls game, that nobody's that competitive no more. And when you say with middle school ball, I think it starts a lot more in rec ball. They're not pushing those kids enough. In those areas, it's almost like everybody's friends, like you and Nichole's friends, but y'all almost went to blows in practice. It's none of that no more. And I think that's what kind of is holding the girls' game back a whole bunch. And you got some guys that's the same way. What would you try to tell the parents or explain to the parents to get that mentality back?
Well, this is what I would say, and I'll always say this. I've been coaching for a long time. I'm not sure if you can teach a killer mentality. I'm not sure if you can teach it. Some people are born with it. Some people got it. But what you can teach a team is how to be competitive, how to have that drive every single day. Because some people, it just burns you inside to lose. Like that comes from within. That comes from how you were raised. And one of the things and advice that I would give parents is, this is not that. What do they call that? Where everyone gets a trophy?
Participation trophy.
That's not how the real world operates.
Right.
And I think that's where it starts, because now these kids are getting false hope in the sense of everything that I do, you want to be pat on the back for. You want a reward for. Some things are done, and it's not a reward at the end, but it's to get you to the stepping stone of where you want to be. And I think that's what I've seen a lot, even coaching at this level, is that every kid wants something sometimes without having to grind and work to get it. You got to grind. No matter where you are, it's going to be uncomfortable. You have to be comfortable with being uncomfortable. That's exactly what it is. And I think the parents have to realize that it's okay for somebody to give your child tough love. It's okay for your child to have to take a good lashing out maybe at their coach in a respectful way, because I don't agree with, degrading a kid and things like that. I don't. But it's okay. Tough love. We've all done it. It's okay to have your child get that tough coaching, and that they got to handle adversity, not always stepping in trying to handle that problem for them. Like, let them learn how to grow. Let them learn how to be decision makers. And I think that can help them when they get to that next level. But it starts at home. It starts at home with having to grind with every single thing that you do. And then maybe that will spill over into that next level. And then I'm going to just say this. I mean, I'm not sure with the tournaments and things like that. I have never been a fan of, let me go to a tournament, let me pay my money. I got 5 games guaranteed, regardless if I win or lose. If I'm a kid, we got a game at 10. We lost. So what? I play again at 12. So what? I lost. Let me play again at 2. That hurts. When we were coming up, you got in a tournament, you lost, you took your butt down to that loser's bracket, and you had to bust your butt to get back up to get to that championship bracket. That took guts. That took effort. That took a whole lot. And it takes a strong team and a strong person to say being on this loser side is not enough. So I think it's a whole lot of things that play a part in that, but we got to figure out how to get back to that competitive way, and that it's not everybody gets a trophy. That's not the world that we're living in.
Right.
Sorry, long answer, but I get passionate about my
That was a great answer. I would just like to add, just from the high school level, I think it goes to trust. You just didn't see, and like when we were coming up, when we were in the gym, just like again, I heard Rico say, our parents weren't worried about where we were at. They weren't worried about what was being said to us. They knew that we were in great hands. We wasn't in the street. We wasn't in trouble. So it's that, trusting the people that you have, allowed your kids to play for, and letting them lead you, keeping open communication with them. That's the main component of the side where she said, I think she hit a lot of things, and I don't know where the ball got dropped at. I don't know if it was while we were in school, like what the change happened there. But it's kind of like me being in head coaching position and being my 6 years in high school. It was very it was very shocking to me to see how everything had changed. Very, very shocking. That was something I had to really get used to. Even in my first year, I almost didn't want to move forward the second year because I was just so surprised at how much girls basketball had changed. So I guess that's one of my goals too. One of my purposes is to try to to get my program and the surrounding area, just try to get some of these things back that we used to have in place. That's the main thing. And I don't know if it's because I'm in the urban area now. I was in a more of a rural area when we were growing up in Villageville. That was something to get used to as well. I never had to deal with the balling. It was one high school we all fed to. Here in Macon, it's 6 high schools. You have with a kid is not satisfied with a coach, they'll transfer to another school. So all of those things play a huge factor in what Coach Chad is asking about as far as it relates to how everything kind of disintegrated. But I go back, I take it back to trust. That's why I want to go. That's one of the many elements. Aside, like I said, what Tasha.
Trust and parenting, different types of parenting these days than when we came up.
It starts at home. I don't care what they say. I mean, how I'm raised, how Nichole's raised, it started at home with our parents. Like when we a transfer, we're in the transfer world right now because as a coach, that's what we do. So I'm not knocking it and saying that every kid doesn't have a reason to transfer because some have a legit reason why they want to transfer. So I'm not going to say that's bad because I recruit off the transfer portal. Now that's what I do. But what I will say is how Nichole said that they jump from school to school when they don't like something. That goes back to that. Can your child handle adversity? Handle that adversity and see, can you get through this? Because everybody in their right mind that probably played in college wanted to transfer. I was out the door. I was gone. And my mom told me, no, you made a commitment to Tennessee. That's where you're going to stay. And that was the best decision of my life because I grew up. I became a woman. And so that's what I mean. You're right. The parenting things, it starts at home. Before we get our hands on them, for me, it's 18 years later. You got to come in with something.
Right.
And let me add something to what she said. Not only my parents, but if her mama saw me, if her mother even stepped in and raised me in the areas and what my parents were lacking. I had fairly younger parents, so if it was anything I ever needed, her mama made sure I had it. That's another thing that I see too. You had a whole village of people that were responsible for you. So that was another part of my my experience or whatever, as far as to where where I ended up at as well. So I wanted to add that aspect.
Yeah, Coach T, I wanted to ask you, Coach Butts talked about, kids coming in and having that competitive nature. It really is. It's hard to make a dog a dog. You know what I'm saying? And we just try to get them to understand, play hard. Every kid's not going to be that alpha type kid. So from your level, from the high school level, and you got freshmen coming in, do you see a lot of it that is just not a mentality thing, or is it more along the line a skill, like they need to kind of hone in on their skill piece of it?
And you talking to me, correct?
Yes. Yeah.
Yes, sir. I see a lot of potential to build a player to that component, even though you don't have the amount of time that you have, like on the collegiate level, to really work with them. Mm-hmm. I would like to say you ask for ways that we pull them out or try to develop them into that. I listened to a Zoom call the other day, Coach Chucky Brown. I think he said you really have to think outside of the box now. You really have to get creative in the ways that you pull things out of players now. And I have to scrap the idea of the way that I was brought up, the teams that I was on. Three teams of 5 you can put on the court and nothing changes. No, you really have to work the pieces that you have. Mm-hmm. You have to work with what you have. It takes some days we even out there. I'm gonna be honest with y'all. Me and my coaching staff get out there every day to compete with our kids in order to get them to compete at the level that we need them to. Because I watch them do it themselves, and they can't do it, but that still allows them to ramp up to another level in order to get the level of competitiveness that we need. And as far as the younger kids, what we try to do, especially if we see a freshman that we feel is promising, we try to go ahead and throw them out in the fire as soon as possible, because we know that that floor experience on the high school level is also going to help them. So those are just two ways. Like I said, we do a lot of out of the box things, and we do a lot of adjustment. And so those are just two things that I wanted to talk about as it pertains to that question.
So,
Charles, I'm sorry, you got a follow-up question?
Yeah, I was going to ask Coach Butts. Coach Butts, so from the time you played at the highest level, and you see these young ladies coming into to college now, everybody says, hey, this era of kids are more skilled than when we came through. Do you find that to be true, or you like, or is it just a?
No, I don't agree.
Okay.
And I'm not saying that to toot anybody's horn or anything like that. And now let me just correct myself. Like some, yes, they are. But when I go back to the things that we had to, every single day we were in the gym working on our left hand, our right hand, post passing with the left hand, post passing with the right, mid-range jump shots off the dribble, power layups. We could shoot the three. We were working on that all-around game. Not just let me get up, go full speed ahead for a layup, or let me jack a three. You were more of a versatile player. Like you were not taught to be one dimensional. You were taught that you had to do everything to compete. What I'm finding now at this level, not only here, but when I was at UCLA, LSU, you're constantly having to break down the fundamentals of the game. Like, because at the end of the day, like, yes, they are college athletes, but let's be real. They play a lot of games. They don't play a lot of pickup. But how many of them really, really, when they go in that gym and they skill develop, are they doing game-like moves? Are you sitting there dribbling 1,000 times before you go into a jump shot? That's not realistic. You're not going to dribble the ball 1,000 times in a game. Are you knowing how to fake high to go low to bounce pass to your post players? Do you know what a good pass is to the post? So we're having to break those things down every single day. Left hand, right hand, post passing, how to do it. So are these kids, they got a little bit more stuff to their game. Like, they come up in here, they know how to do the step back crossovers, things like that. We didn't have to do all that stuff. We were more, some of us did it. Like I was taught that. I think the older that I got, I developed it. But we were more about the fundamentals. So I think there is a lack sometimes in the skill of the fundamentals of the game, just the basics, the dribble, pass, shoot, the basics of the game.
Well put, Coach. Appreciate that.
Not a problem.
Coach Williams, so kind of to follow up, just what Coach Butts was saying as far as the fundamental piece. Is that something that you're emphasizing with your program?
I have to. I can speak on my first season, which was very different from my second season as a head coach. We discovered about 6 or 7 games in that we were talking and our kids had no idea what we were saying. When we were saying bonus, drive to the hole, we're in the bonus. One little girl looked at me and said, "What's the bonus?" Mm-hmm. So I'm on the sideline freaking out. Like, so that day, I said, "Coach," I said, "I'm sorry." I said, we scrapping everything in practice and we got to go all the way basic. So our next couple of practices, we talked about basketball terminology. I said, when I say the bonus, raise your hand if you know what that means. Only about 3 girls raised their hand. So the terminology, when once we discovered the deficiencies, we had no choice but to go basic. And it actually changed our season around tremendously. Because I'm telling you, like, when you think you think the kids come in knowing certain things, and then you find out that they don't, and you wonder why they're out there messing up, or they're not doing what you ask. That's basically what the issue was. So yes, we do. We hone on the fundamentals as much as we can, even though we're limited to time, and then we focus on a lot of game type situations as well. How at what point we are in the season.
Right. So I wanted to ask. I got like 1,000 questions I want to ask y'all just based on the conversation that's going on right now, right? But so I'm trying to kind of in my mind put them where they need to be. But I have to ask this as far as what you guys' relationship are, right? Or is with you being at the high school level and you being at the college level, the communication that you all have, right? So maybe Coach Butts coming down and saying, hey, can you kind of focus on these areas, or these areas of what we're seeing that's lacking, or whatever the case may be. Can you guys just kind of go into how your relationship is maybe help both of y'all as coaches as well?
You want me to talk to you?
Yeah, go ahead.
To be honest, we don't really have enough, like, a lot of time to communicate. As far as it relates to that, most of the time it's hey, how you doing? Or Tasha will be like, I'm in Atlanta. I'm in the area. I'm at home. Can you drop by? Those type of things, because I know her schedule has always been more demanding than mine.
Right.
So I always had to kind of move on her time. So, but the thing is, if I ever need anything, if I ever have a question, she's always one phone call away. She actually invited us to. She asked me to bring the kids to Georgia Tech camp this summer before COVID happened, and we were definitely planning on doing that. I was very excited about that, and her being that close to Georgia. But aside Tasha, I've been on a lot of Zoom calls, and I've heard a lot of coaches talk about some of the things that high school coaches can do to prepare kids for the collegiate level. I've heard college coaches blame the high school coaches. We blame the middle school coaches. And then we hear that it starts with on the rec level. So I mean, we can continue to point the finger and blame one another for everything, or we can just work with what we got and try to prepare the kid as best as we can. So that's our goal at Central. I know we try to, even if it's just one time, our goal is to show kids some of the things that we know they can be up against on the collegiate level.
Right. And I would say this to, like what Nichole actually said, but she knows that one phone call away, whatever it is. Like Kizzy Traywick at Bolston High School when she first got the job. I happened to be home and she came over to, sorry y'all, my dog is protecting her food right now, barking at my nephew. So sorry. But she came over to my house and we sat down and we talked basketball. We talked X's and O's. I gave her some sets that we run that I thought would be good. So my door is always open. Like when they want to call me, I don't pretend to know everything, because I'll ask them questions too. So whatever I can assist them with, I'm one phone call away. And now I'm only about an hour away, so she can come on up.
Yeah, let me get some sets too while we together.
I got you.
All right, I got a question for each one of y'all. First, Coach Butts. What do you look for when you're recruiting the player? What are some of the things you look for? Yeah. And how do you view the talent in Georgia outside of Metro Atlanta?
Okay, gotcha. All right, two part. All right, first one is, to be honest, the first thing that you're gonna see on a kid when you're recruiting is the talent level. That's the first thing you're gonna see when you sit down and you sit at the gym and you're watching play. You're gonna be able to see if that player can play at your level or not. So once I identify that, then I go to the things that have nothing to do with basketball. I'm looking at your character. I'm looking at what type of teammate are you? What type of player are you? How do you interact with your coach? How do you interact with your teammates? Are you selfish? Are you unselfish? Are you sitting there looking in the stands every time you do something? Then I'm probably looking around and listening. Do I hear your parents? Do I hear your parents yelling at the coach? Do I hear your parents trying to coach you up? And I look at all those things, because especially if I'm recruiting a local kid, she comes to Georgia Tech, your parents are going to be here. That's probably what's going to happen when you get here. So you have to, that's where I go back, what happens at home. I look at all that. but my eye immediately goes to versatility. I love a versatile guard. I love a guard that can play on both ends of the floor, not just one dimensional. She doesn't mind picking up the ball, 94 feet if she has to. She's athletic, dribble, pass, shoot. I love that, and I love, versatile bigs. I love those ones that, you can be back to the basket if you need to and bang with somebody, or you can sit there. Somebody wants to say hello. Say hey.
Hey, what's up, little man?
It's my nephew. Okay, go away.
We got a team for him, Coach.
Huh?
We got a team for him. We recruit too now.
Listen, this little boy already, he 8 years old, already got a cast on his arm, a broken arm.
Hey, that's toughness.
Yeah, but that's what I look for. Like I'm looking for that player inside and out, because I do want to know that you're a good person and that we're adding great pieces to our team. Because that's how you build that championship roster. You got to have teams that complement each other. So I'm always comparing what we have on our team now, and are those pieces going to fit into what we have? Are they going to complement, or are they going to lift us up to the next level? It's a small amount of players out there that you say, you know what, we signed this player, that's a program changer. You know those right off the bat who those program changers are, and so that's kind of where my eye goes.
And then the second part of that question, how do you view the talent in Georgia outside of Metro Atlanta?
So when we're saying Atlanta is stacked,
right?
And I would say this: Georgia has and probably always will be a hotbed for girls basketball. But just as I was coming up, a lot of it happened to be, well, I put it like it shifted up to Atlanta. Because back in the day, we had them all in through Middle Georgia, whether it was Baldwin, Forsyth, like all of those. And it shifted up to Atlanta. Now, the Atlanta area, to be quite honest, I couldn't tell you like what that South Georgia is, because they're either way under the radar or haven't gotten the opportunity to step outside of that and move up. So, and that's what I do think, like when you're talking about those cities in Georgia, is underexposed. That like they're not getting out there and playing on the circuit. And right now, things have changed where they were. For me, when I recruit, I like to recruit the AAU coaches, the high school coaches. Okay, who else is in that circle? Is it a principal? Like I'm gonna try and touch everybody that touches that kid. So that's the thing. But probably the first time that I'm gonna put my eyes on them is probably gonna be summer basketball. Just like real talk, is probably going to be summer basketball, because we're able to see a mass number at one time. Now, when I identify that kid, she may be a boom, tune, whatever, high school, but because I seen her in July, I'm about to go to the middle of nowhere and watch her in high school. That's how it is now with the landscape. It's rare that you're going to go from high school to AAU first. You usually see them in that April, May, July period. And then that's when you follow them. But I do think the South Georgia, outside of like Metro Atlanta, is underexposed. I'm not saying that there's not talent out there, because I've talked to some good kids from South Georgia, whether it's Valdosta, the middle of nowhere. But it's because people are calling me and putting them on my radar. It's not like I've watched them in a gym, because I do think they're underexposed.
Gotcha. Coach T, how much emphasis do you put on moving your girls to the next level, academically or athletically?
That's our priority. Whether we can get them, if we can get them on an athletic scholarship, that's a plus. But academics, we have been very fortunate in our program to get, within my 2 years, every senior that I've had, with the exception of one, and because she got an injury at the end, are on the next level, are moving on to the next level, athletic or academically. And
right.
Some of them not basketball. We have some track athletes. We had softball. But very important. We put a high price on academics, as well as, and like I said, if we can get athletic scholarships, we can get those girls on the floor ride. That's plus for us. So we pay a huge price on that. If you get in any kind of academic trouble, you probably won't be able to play for us because, like I said, when someone comes, we try to make sure that we stress that to them. Sometimes it's all about being ready when the opportunity presents itself, and sometimes you're only going to get that opportunity one time. So once that opportunity comes, we want you to be ready. We don't ever want to turn anybody around because your grades are not right. So that's something that we pay a huge price on.
Right.
Yes, sir.
Hey, Coach, you talked about exposure a little bit. Can you kind of just, I guess, foot stomp that piece, right? Because we got a lot of folks now that's playing travel ball, and isn't taking advantage of the live periods when they get to that age point. Can you kind of just, emphasize how important that is to be seen?
I definitely think it's important to be seen. Now, I'm on the fence when it comes to at what age, but because I do believe, for us, I would say we get a lot of kids that come into college now hurt, where they got underlying issues. So I don't know if it's stemming from the amount of games that's being played, whatever it is, but it's a lot of wear and tear. But the live periods are extremely important because with the NCAA rules, they give coaches your recruiting calendars, and you can go and see, them in a high school period. But for us, that April, May, July period, I'm not sure what the men's calendar is. I think it's slightly different from ours, but that's where we are trying to locate those kids. That is where we are coming back as a staff meeting and saying, okay, we need to offer this kid, that kid, this kid. We need to get on the phone. That's where I got my exposure. That's where my first scholarship offer came from. But this was also when AAU nationals were a big deal. And so that's when I got my first exposure, but it was through a live period where those coaches were there. So that's how we identify. That's why we go. That's why we spend buttloads of money on flights, hotels, and recruiting packets, to sit in the gym to find that next and find those pieces to your puzzle. So yes, I do agree with live period is very important. I would just tell people to be careful in the amount of games, the wear and tear. Just really these kids need to take care of their bodies. You only got one body. So as much as I say play and go to these live periods, we need to make sure that they're taking care of their bodies also.
Yes, man. Coach Williams, what about you? How many of your players do you know that are actually playing travel ball?
I had 5 that started off this year. I knew for sure that played. We lost 5, so I had 5 of 8 that I know for sure played. But of course, it started with the COVID situation, and I was pleased to know that all 3 of them were playing together because team chemistry was something that we kind of had to start building as well. And they were kind of the younger players. So those are the 5. I mean, those are the number of kids. That's how many you asked me how many kids are playing.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
And it actually you seen the difference in their game from getting those reps in the summer?
Well, I would like to say yes and no. Mm-hmm. Yes and no. Because what I learned and what my kids are learning, what I tell them is that when you're playing for a different coach is going to demand a different style of play. So maybe what they learn in travel ball is not my style of coaching. It's not the way that I'm going to have to run my system based on the rest of their teammates.
Right.
So that's kind of hard to gauge for me. Because like I said, I've never seen it like this before. Our entire team stayed together and played. So it was never me coming back. Our coaches have to come back, correct the different styles and bad habits because we worked on that all year. Our players were drilled in this. We worked on our offenses, our defense. We had a whole year round to work on that. So, like I said, it's kind of hard for me to say, and I'm not knocking any of the AAU programs that my girls are a part of, but like I said, it's a lot of times where the kids are kind of coming and learning our style and our system. Which, like I tell me, it's a good thing also because you're gonna have to learn different systems as you proceed and get in front of other coaches. So that's how they go.
Can both of y'all just kind of speak on that transition from high school, right, where y'all were dominant, and then going to college, just what that change was, right? Coach Buck, specifically with you going to play for Pat Summit, like I said, a Hall of Fame coach, won national championships, all of those things. Where did your mentality have to be coming in? Did your bubble get busted a little bit coming in, and you had to like really, lock in and understand that this was no game and you really needed to get focused?
Absolutely. I was humbled probably the first day I stepped on campus. You walk in there as the big dog, and then at Tennessee, you look to your left, you look to your right, you got 15 big dogs. You got 15 All-Americans. You got 15 WBCA All-Americans. You got 15 people that are probably 1,000 or 2,000 point scorers that were their number one on the team. So my freshman year, I walk in there, and this is who's in my position. Tamika Catchings, Hall of Famer. Kara Lawson, Olympian. Samika Randall, All-American. Those are people that I'm having to compete with. And I remember I chose Tennessee because I wanted to have to fight and compete. And it was hard. Like I walked in there knowing that I thought I was walking in there to do one thing. And by the end of my freshman year, my mentality had switched. Like I was always somebody that I would play defense, but it wasn't like, oh, lockdown. By my freshman year, that's what I had to turn to if I wanted to get on the court. She wasn't asking me to score. She was asking me to go and lock up the best defender. And well, me being competitive, I needed to get off the bench. So whatever I needed to do, I was going to do it. I honestly was not asked to score and do what I did in high school until my junior year. I had to wait. Like I had to wait my turn. Some people would have ghosted and been out. I had those thoughts, but I had to grow. Like I got welcomed early, going again, having to play against one-on-one Hall of Famers, and Pat didn't make it easy. Every day she matched me up against Tamika Catchings. Every day I was going against Samika Randall. I'm thankful, for that because it taught me something different that I didn't know I had in me. Like I had to figure out the way to make it work. That first road that I went down, I had to take a detour, and I didn't stop. And so I think that just kind of fed into my mentality and the type of person I am now. When one door closes, you figure out how to open it back up or go to another one and open it. So.
Thank you for that, Scoop.
It's just such a blessing to be surrounded with people as such. I remember her first year in college. Her parents actually took me up there. At the point that I went to visit Tasha, my senior year of high school, her freshman year in college, I had no aspirations of going to school to play basketball. I had no scholarship opportunities. I was just, like I said, I was just a girl who loved the game, who stayed in the gym with people who loved it more than me, and I developed a competitive nature. Now, what I want to talk about the difference in the path that we took. Visiting her college was life-changing for me. She took me around the whole campus. I went, stayed with her a couple of nights. I went to the locker room. I actually saw the game, and it was just, being exposed to that kind of changed my life. And I was like, dang, like this is cool, like So basically, I want to go ahead and say, my collegiate level experience was totally different. And that's why I thought it was important to be on the call with her, because she went on a Division I route. I actually went JUCO first. I never started in high school. Our team was so stacked. It wasn't that I never felt I could play, because what I brought to the team, I did a good job at what I brought. However, I started in college. I started in college. I learned so much more about my game and from the things that I learned in high school and growing up in college. I was one of those versatile players. I was more of an IQ player. And being that I could play any position, I knew who to get the ball to. I knew I was getting, doing all the little things, and where you wouldn't maybe not necessarily averaging like the highest score on the team, but a necessary person that needed to be on the floor. And that took me a long way. And so leaving Baldwin, I just feel like if I've never tested that mentality, that killer mentality, killer instinct, winning, perfection, I would have never been able to go through college and endure the things that I did. We like she said, we lost in college. I lost in college more than I ever lost before in my life, and it was tough. But again, it was a very different experience for me. I learned a lot, and I think still being brought up in that capacity still enabled me to move forward and do the things that I was able to go and do.
Good. Coach Charles, we got some questions.
Yes. So we got a question from one of our viewers. The question is, how do you push your child to his or her maximum potential without the kid feeling pressure to perform? Either one of you ladies.
For me, I would say it needs to be coming from that place of you're doing it because you see something in your child and you're not living through your child, if that makes sense. It can't be a situation where you're pushing your kid and your kid doesn't perform at the level that you think they should perform. And as a parent, that embarrassment starts to seep in, because now it's kind of like, okay, well, if you're embarrassed, like who are you doing this for? Is it for the betterment of your child, or is it for you to showcase your child? Like, which one is it? And I think that's a fine line that you have to push them. But I think in order to get everything out of them, you have to know the seriousness that your child wants. Are they serious about this sport, or are they just playing this sport because their friends are playing it, or they have nothing to do? Because that's a different level of pushing. Like, I probably could have been pushed more, and our coach, Terry Moore, he pushed me like none other. I mean, to the point where I couldn't stand him. He was my cousin, he was my coach, but he pushed everything out of me. Some other people on my team didn't have those dreams and hopes and aspirations that I did, so it wasn't necessary to probably push them as hard as he pushed me. So I think the first thing is that parent needs to find out what is the level of interest in that sport that your kid is in. How serious are they about making it to the next level? And if they say that they really want to make it to the next level, then you push them to their potential, knowing that you're doing this because you see them not rising up to their challenge, not yours, not the goals that you set for your child. What are the goals that your child sets for themselves? That's a difference. Like I remember my mom used to tell me, what do you want to do? It's not what I want to do. I can say I want you to do A, B, and C, but if you just tell me your goals are A and B, all right then. So I think that's that fine line of making sure you're pushing your child for what they want to do versus what you want your child to do. I hope that makes sense and answers that question.
Absolutely. Coach T, anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, just maximizing the potential. Like she said, working on their mindset. I think as many people as you can have working on a kid's mindset, if it can come from home and then your coaching and all that, and knowing the type of person that you're dealing with, I think that will enable to enhance a child's maximum potential also, because that child will be willing to do whatever you ask them to do and be willing to work up to what you're trying to do. Be more, receptive. That's another thing. I think mindset is a very, very huge aspect of that. And then when you say maximize the potential, if you're related to basketball specifically, just being realistic to your child, because I wouldn't have ever been able to go to a Tennessee and play, even though I played with Tasha, but I went to JUCO and I did great things, and I was able to go to Fort Valley State from that, so being realistic as parents as well, and knowing, because truthfully, only special people can go and play at that level, like Tasha did, because like I said, if you get in there is one thing, but having to stay there is a whole another monster. So, sometimes you have to be careful what you push, trying to push your children towards, and making sure that they fit, specifically and where they need to go. So that's my main thing. Mindset, keeping an open communication with them, let them know some things are gonna be harder to get than others. And just constantly, that's how you maximize their potential. Just being real to them, and that's basically what I have to say.
Charles, we got any other questions on here?
No, I think that was the only one. But I'll add a little bit to that as well. I think we all want our kids to be great in whatever it is they want to do. And I'll say, for you to push a kid to their potential, you got to find a routine for them. So if it's singing, if it's playing the piano, and that's what they want to do, find a routine where they're singing and playing the piano. So routine. So kids just operate better. They develop better when they have a solid routine and consistency. So my 2 cents.
Agree.
That's a great point, Coach. Because like Tasha said, it's not rocket science. We didn't do anything simple. We did very basic stuff, and it carried us a long way. But we put the time in. We put the time. We sacrificed. We ain't sacrificed all the parties. We hit a couple of parties. But seriously,
She's like, wait a minute, we went to a few now.
We went to a few parties.
We did. I remember getting my hair and my nails done for a prom, and the next day I had an AAU tournament. I popped them nails out, washed my hair, and it was over. So,
Yeah.
But I agree with the being real with them, having a routine, but then just making sure what you're doing as parents, that is something that your child wants to do, and it's not something the other way around. Like they have to have a drive within themselves that, hey, mama, I really want to play, play this sport.
Absolutely.
And one last thing for me, question for both of you. What do, and I ask this question to everybody that we have on here. Moving the culture forward, and we'll talk basically about girls basketball since we got girl coaches here, or women coaches. Pushing the game forward here in the Middle Georgia area. What do you think some of the things that these young ladies, coaches, whoever handles that, what can they do to push it forward?
Are you speaking in terms of like the AAU coaches and all of that, and how they can push it forward?
Coaches in general.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I can speak on it if you want to thank Tasha for a second.
Yeah, go ahead.
The first thing I would like to say is I want to say this right here. Being brought up with the record that we had and the things that we did, I will tell you, because you said you did kind of want us to talk on the few losses that we had.
Mm-hmm.
The few
The
losses.
very few. The very few, as I was told.
The very few. Still, I'm 36 years old. I'll be 37 in July, and I still hurt from those losses. Like they still sting. They still hurt. But what I would like to say, what I've learned in girls basketball today, that you can learn from losses. Because I've had seasons where we've lost games, we've taken hits. Okay. I just had to come to grip. Now, here are some of the things that we're doing to expand Middle Georgia basketball and why we're taking hits. We're scheduling up. We're playing higher competition. We're making sure that we're coming up to the Atlanta areas. We're not shying away from the Holy Innocents. We're not shying away from the Douglas High Schools, state championship teams. Okay, if we got to get beat down early in the season to learn the level that we need to move up to, okay, that's the thing that we're doing. So I've learned to kind of not look at records, because we had a perfect record the year that we lost state championship. That was our only loss. We lost to Beach High School by 4 points. I'll never forget it. So it's at what time our loss is important. What can you learn from it? I'm kind of looking at it in a different perspective now. Also, we are making sure we definitely the exposure piece, the social media aspect, I would like to say. We are definitely, I have a great coaching staff, Kawasi Reed's, Jarfae Jones, Alicia Williams, but Kawasi Reed's job specifically for me, that's one of his jobs. He's always on social media for us. Whether he's tweeting out academic information or athletic, he's always putting it out there. And that has been a great component for us as well. Again, I would love to have a person who can do AAU with my team. We can keep them all together year round. Drill the plays that we do all throughout summer, all throughout the year. That's something that I want to build up to. But again, this is my second year, and it's something that I want to continue to do as we continue to move forward.
Good answer, Nichole. This is what I would say, because I'm going to hit on a couple things that Nichole said. Prior to like moving it forward, like before we get to the part of moving forward, like I think it kind of starts at that grassroots level, that level of make sure, for one, that we're surrounding our kids with people that actually want to coach, that want to teach them the fundamentals, that know how to teach them the fundamentals. And I think that's sometimes where that's getting lost, that a lot of these kids don't know basketball because they haven't been taught the correct way, because you have people that are in position that has no clue. They're just doing it just because. That's the first thing that I will say. The second thing, I'm going to hit the same thing Nichole said, is that exposure. Get those kids out of South Georgia and let them come up here. Let them come up here, or they come down there. Expose them to the level of competition that they one day hope to be. Like, they have to be exposed. Like, you're not going to always, you can play with your high school team, whatever, but that high school competition is a little bit different than the AAU competition. It just is, because you're playing people national. It's one thing to say, oh, I'm going to stay in these local tournaments. And it's another thing to say, all right, I'm about to go play this heavy hitter from Florida, from Texas, from Cal, to see where you stack up. To me, that's how you move Georgia forward. You can't move anything forward if no one knows about you. If they don't know about you, had I stayed in Millersville, Georgia, like, I love my girls, but had I stayed in Millersville, Georgia at Bolston High School playing for the Bolston County Rec Department, there's no way I would have ended up at Tennessee. No one would have known who I was. You got to expose them to where you want them to be. But before they can get on that level, let's have some people that are helping them get ready for that level. And then expose them to where they want to be.
And when she said that also, that exposure component, that was another part of the reason for one of our losses. One year when we lost, we had never seen pick and rolls. We were getting girls picking, we running the brick wall picks, staying in the middle Georgia area, dominating this area, killing everybody, busting the clock on people, pressing and just scoring off pressing, not even having to set an offense. Getting in the state playoff, you running into picks. We never seen this before. I'll never forget this. Tasha, what year that was?
My junior year against Coach.
High school. I mean, I'm serious. Like that exposure component as a coach and as a player. But for coaches to see that and be able to coach against, and for players to you practice it and then being able to know what to do when you get in the game type situation. That's very, very important.
Well, keep talking and keep adding. My senior year, we played Coach again and we waxed them.
Hey, Coach Butts. I just
got mad.
I seen you. I was like, ooh, she want a rematch. She want that. She want that 96. That yeah.
We were undefeated. We were undefeated going into that. It was the Final Four. We were undefeated. Had not lost, killing everybody. Them girls came out there picking and rolling, dribble, drive, kick, three. They were so disciplined. And we were like getting out there. We had our sets, but it was like, all right, street ball. Let me do this. Let me do that. Passing in to Tasha on a post. The whole team surrounded me. Like, it was, they were ready. They scouted us and prepared. But then that's when I tell you, when Nichole said, that's how you move forward. You grow. When I tell you from that time that we lost, that's how serious we were. That time that we lost that game, that next day, we were all back together, playing, practicing just to get back, and we were praying that we played Pope. Yeah. And when we found out we were playing them, that was it. Oh, yeah.
So
hold on, I gotta add this for you. But when we lost the beach, before the game before we got the Pope in the Final Four that year, we lost the beach. We had knocked the beach out the year before, so they were waiting for us, and they beat us in the championship game too.
So let me ask you guys. So let me ask you ladies. Do you
don't
guys
start picking now?
No.
I'm about to get mad. Y'all don't understand. I get heated about this.
I see you, Coach.
We see.
We see it. So, and you ladies sound like the ultimate competitors. You know what I'm saying? So it's spewing out through the screen right now, and I love it. So and it sounds like you don't remember all your wins, but you remember your losses, right? So is it one of those things where you not so much you love to win, but you just losing just it gets under your skin type. Which is it?
I hate to lose more.
Yeah.
I have never lost not one game in my college, high school, middle school that I didn't cry. And then it took me when I first started coaching. I almost started crying, but then after we started losing so many, I'm like, all right, I'm crying too much. But I'm like real talk, like in middle school, we didn't lose. Okay, so high school when we first got to Baldwin High, and I remember losing as a freshman to Northeast, and that's when Northeast they were good. Shamia Hubbard, who's married to my cousin, love her to death. They had the girl they called 6'9". They had a team. And I'm a freshman thinking, I don't care who they are, we're supposed to win. And we lost that game. I remember shaking hands, booing, snot nose crying, and everybody looking at me like what's wrong with her? But that's how serious you took losing. And every game, even at Tennessee, the few that we lost, I've never lost a game as a player and not shed tears because I hate to lose.
Yep. Shout out to Alvin Copeland, the legend, living legend. But for me, and this crazy because I could run all day. Okay, Tasha know about leading scoring, but I was leading pecking and running. So I had to lead in something.
Distance, long distance.
Oh yeah, distance. Right. So definitely. I hate to run. I knew if we lost, we know we had hell to pay. Period. So I'm telling you, like being that sick feeling in your stomach all day at school because you lost the day before and coach is gonna get you, like because I promise you probably some small things that we had been taught that we probably got out of character. So like I said, aside late in the playoff when you meet teams that it's X and O's and you never seen that style of play. We knew, like I said, we knew what was expected of us, and we knew that we were about to pay. Like sick to your stomach, like about to throw up because you can get on the line and run.
Get in push-up position on
the stomach
and put 30 on the second, and that's how we did our suicides. You start up in push-up position.
So we do have another question from the viewers. So as a parent outside of AAU, are camps also a major component of exposure for basketball? If so, at what grade is a great time to start going to exposure camps?
Well, when she said, you mean exposure as in college camps? Or?
So they're looking at, I'm assuming that if they're speaking I'm assuming that it's high schoolers or middle schoolers.
The tournament directors normally put on little showcases and camps for the kids also.
Well, I'll say this, I do think it's important, with the exposure camps, because again, that's how we get to see them. And if your child is wanting to play at the next level, that's what your goal is. Your goal is to get seen by college coaches. I'm literally sitting there watching 7th graders, 8th graders, 9th graders. So I don't think it's not too early. My first time playing exposure basketball, I was in the 7th grade. I got my first offer in the 8th grade. That's when my name was known. There's an 8th grader that right now, I could offer her today. The kid is good. So if your kid has that talent to play on that level, I would say go right ahead, because there's some kids where I'm watching them. I'm like, this kid would rather be at home watching TV rather than being on the court, and you have mom or dad sitting there screaming at them, but they have no interest. If your kid is interested in playing at that level, absolutely. I think 7th, 8th graders, get them out there. 6, 7, 8, let them play, because the coaches, we're going to watch them. We start early recruiting. We start early building our databases. Now, to go to college camps, it's not as big as it used to be. A lot of people, you use them as we've kind of gone away from how they would do college camps. And what we've been successful is what we call power hours. And that's where we'll get, select kids in there, and we put them basically through a college workout. I think that's great for you if you're interested in a school and you want to see how you mesh with that coach. Do you like their coaching style? Do you like how they're drilling you? I think that's a great way to be exposed to the coaching staff and the team. But college camps are not as huge as they used to be when we were coming up. because we use that to be seen. But I do think it's good if you do have interest in that school and want to have that one-on-one with the coach and the players.
So, Coach Williams, before you answer that, Coach Buss, I'm gonna go back to that the college camps. How would somebody get in touch or find out about when a camp would be taking place?
Most colleges, depending on if they are a separate entity, like they have their own camps. Like for example, ours it's the Nell Fortner camp. Like it's not through, even though it's hosted at Georgia Tech, it's like Nell Fortner. I don't want to get it wrong, but she has her own link. And then usually how that happens is it's promoted on your team site. So if you go to Georgia Tech women's basketball, you'll see a special tab for camps. And it'll kind of direct you to that. Or people send emails. Like our emails are public, so they can send me an email directly, and then I will be able to get it to the right person to answer questions for them.
Okay, so and I'm assuming there is a fee with that as well.
With camps?
Yes.
Yes. Last year, like for example, with our power hours last year, we actually did 2 hours. They were with us for 2 hours, and it was like $20. And we had a lot of great kids from all over Georgia. We actually had a great turnout from Georgia. We had a kid that flew in from Texas. We had some Tennessee kids. So we had a great turnout of people like at our power hours.
And a majority of the colleges on the women's side and the men's side have those opportunities.
Well, I think it depends on how you run your camps. Some people still do the old school like elite camps. Some people still do team camps. So it depends on. So for us, because we took the job last year in April, we had to move quick because camps were getting ready to start. So we decided upon like, okay, let's just have our power hours, and we did kind of a day camp. So I think it just depends. And, we would do, like this year, we were going to do team camp. We were going to do our power hours and our day camp.
Okay.
So the power hours took the place of the elite camp.
Right. That's great information, Coach. Thank you.
Good stuff.
You're welcome.
Well, Coach, one more thing, and you touched on the exposure for the young ladies. So those that are playing AAU basketball need to get in some big time exposure tournaments, and not just locally funded tournaments.
Absolutely. It depends on what your goal is. Like, now I get it. Like, if you want to do your tune-ups, in June or May, whenever they do those, do your tune-ups to get ready, but when July hits, when April for us, our viewing periods are April, May, and July. Okay. When those periods hit, you need to be playing in front of some coaches. Unless you are, kids that aren't ready, they just want to play to get better, to get to that next level, then okay. But if you are trying to get seen, you need to be somewhere where coaches are sitting on the sideline. Absolutely.
So, Coach, to that point, right? When they are going to these exposure tournaments or during a live period, and you're looking at kids or whatever the case may be, what kind of stands out to you? I know we kind of touched on that. But if a team may not be that strong, but an individual player, or what are the things that you're kind of looking for? In a sense of, you're not just recruiting kids on a winning team all the time because you're recruiting for specific needs, correct?
Yeah, I think it's a put it like this. There's a fine line to that. Okay, like you'll find a diamond in the rough. Every now and then. You got to really be searching and on your job, and then a lot of it comes from word of mouth recommendations, because I have a lot of good friends down here in Georgia that call me like, hey, this kid plays on this team. She's on court here. Go watch her. She may not be on the main court. Go watch. But when you do come across that kid that may not be on a stat team and it's just them, you looking at how do they carry themselves with that team. Like that is the thing. Are you a kid that's capable of putting your team on your back, doing what you got to do? And do you play with poise? So you're looking at how they carry, how they carry themselves. Right. And so that's one thing that stands out, because we did have a kid that we signed that wasn't on a great team, but the way she handled herself, you knew that she could handle herself around some winners and some other good players, because that's what she did. Now, I say there's a fine line is because at this level where we're trying to go, we're trying to win a championship. We're trying to get to the top of the ACC. We're trying to compete nationally. You do, as a coach, you do like to see a kid that has won that has that winning mentality. You can't have a team full of kids that have never won before, because when you get to this level, if you've never won before, now we got to teach you really like that part too. And now I've done that before. My first year at UCLA, we were dealing with kids that had never won before. They didn't know how to win. We had to teach them how to win. And that was a hard process. So I do think there's a fine line that I like kids that have won. I like kids that have played at the highest level, that have competed in state championship, region championships. Every kid is not going to have that. But I think you got to have a mixture on your team.
Hey, Coach Butch, I don't think we can get out of here without asking you about the late, great Pat Summitt and kind of what you have learned from her and things that you have put into your coaching toolbox and whatnot. So if you can just talk a little bit on that, that'd be, I'm sure the viewers would really appreciate.
Yeah, I was just actually a couple of days ago really emotional because it was her birthday.
Absolutely.
But Pat, I'm just blessed to have been recruited by her, for her to come and sit in my house and recruit me to be wanted by such a legend. Like, that is something that's a story that I will always tell. For Pat to come in there and sit in my living room and convince my mom and to ask my mom, basically, your daughter is good enough to come to one of the best, places in the country. That is something that still sits dear to me. But I say this, Pat was tough. Like, everybody, it was so many talented players across the country. Everybody, I'm good enough to play at Tennessee. But let me just tell you something. Everybody couldn't play for that lady. You had to come up in Tennessee with something. Not only your skill, you better have had some type of mental toughness when you stepped on that campus, because, baby, she was going to break you down and build you back up. And I had that mentality. I don't care what she did. She was not going to see me cry. It was plenty of days I was on that court. I would sprint off that court. And when I got to that locker room, I was boo-hooing, but I learned that tough love. I learned that she could coach me hard. She saw more than me than I saw in myself. And she figured out a way to pull it out of me because she knew me personally. She got a chance to know who I was as a person. She had to figure out what got my fire burning. She knew that she couldn't walk in that gym and talk to me nice. Like, she had to get up on my butt because I could take it. Now, everybody couldn't take it. Yeah. I used to get yelled at for some of my teammates because they couldn't take it. So I would take it, and then I would go and probably cuss them out because I just got yelled at for you. But that's just how it was. But when we talk about coaching, I learned that relationship based with your team, with each player. You got to get to know each individual player, who they are, inside and out, what type of person they are, what do you like, what are your dislikes, before you can try and coach them up. There's no way that I can go in there with, I'll say, one of our point guard, Kiara Fletcher, when I first got to campus. We spent a lot of time together before we got on this court because she didn't even know that I care about her. So when I do get into you, at the end of the day, when we step off that court, it's still all love. So from Pat, I learned that balance of how to pull the best out of your players while still making sure they knew you care and you love them. And then the last thing was about family and understanding that basketball is a great tool to get where you want, but it ain't the end of the world. Like, it's not the end of the world. And it's so many more pressing issues that our kids go through daily in college that they need to have a shoulder to lean on. And as coaches, we are coaches last. Coaching is the last hat that I put on every single day. I may be a teacher, a mom, a psychologist, a hairstylist, a relationship therapist, whatever it is. And then by the time we get on the court, all right, now I pull the coaching hat on. And I had to learn that from her because that's what she was for me.
Coach, one last thing before we wrap it up. What are some of the independent events do y'all go to for girls who's not on the shoe circuits?
Mm-hmm. We go to, I do a lot of Mike White events, which that's like All-Star Girls Report. I've done his events with us being local. And even when I was at LSU, I would do some Peach State basketball things with Brandon Clay. Obviously, they just became a shoe with Under Armour. I'm trying to see. It's a lot of little Super 64 that's out in Frisco, Texas. That's a big tournament for girls. But I would say for coaches to find that tournament, all you got to do is go to the NCAA, NCAA.org, to the recruiting section for women's basketball. It'll pull up all the tournaments, and you can click on those tournaments to see which ones are legit. If you click on that link and it says such and such, and you go to that website and they got 10 teams signed up, more than likely you ain't gonna have any coaches there. Right. So they need to go and click on those links and do your research and see who's actually at these tournaments, because they'll have those teams. And most people know, because let's say you're dealing with a team that's not as exposed. So team A is not as exposed as team B. Well, team B got some good players on there where you know coaches are coming. You might want to go and see how you stack up against them. Go to that tournament and see if you can slide on the same court, because a lot of kids that I have seen in recruiting, I saw them not because I was there to see them first. I was watching somebody else, and they end up playing against them. Now you're on my radar.
Gotcha. And with that being said, to wrap up, Coach, we really appreciate y'all coming on, and a lot of insight on the college level, a lot of insight on the high school level with Coach T, and like I say, you're talking forward, moving the coaching forward in Middle Georgia. And like I said, we really appreciate y'all being on.
Thank y'all so much.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, a lot of great information. So we definitely appreciate y'all coming on. Coach Charles, anything else from the viewers before we get out of here?
No. So all good from the viewer standpoint. But just kind of echoing what the other two coaches said, we really appreciate you guys coming on. And we can do anything for you all. Let us know. We're more than happy to help. So if we can get you all back on, let us know. We'll love to have you back on. So
well, we're gonna have to get y'all back on, because I still got about 150 questions over here I need to ask. But
I mean, anything that I could do, like to help you guys, or like I said, Nichole has my number. I'm a phone call away. Even if it's just giving advice, to your kids, to whatever, to parents, like feel free to reach out.
Right. So I'll let both of y'all know. So we've said this to all the coaches that we've had on the show. So we're gonna have a road show coming up. So we're gonna need some tickets. So if you just leave the tickets that we'll call, we'll be there to pick them up.
Gotcha.
But no, seriously, we appreciate y'all being on the show. Again, we're gonna get ready to get out of here, but we definitely want to have y'all back on, because there's more information. I think you guys are a plethora of information to get out to the young folks. But as far as the show, make sure to join us Sunday, Father's Day edition. We got a big show. We got Kawasi Sr. and Kawasi Jr. coming on the show. Coach Tat, you want to talk on that a little bit?
Just it's a father-son duo, man, for the Father's Day edition. As Coach T touched on earlier with Kawasi, man, he's a really big imprint in this Middle Georgia area. We get information out about women's and men's basketball, and does a great job, man, in covering everybody. So just wanted to sit him down and shed some light on him and his son's situation, and on Father's Day, which I think is going to be a great episode.
Yes, sir. Coach Charles, anything else before we get out of here?
No, that's it. Nothing for me. Good to go.
All right. So, again, viewers, thank you for tuning in. If you guys have any information that you need or any follow-up information that you want, reach out to us on our social media platform, and we'll be sure to get that information to you. Other than that, thank you for tuning in. Peace.